The enormous crystal hall stretched for miles in every direction, its walls pulsing with soft blue light. Hundreds of different alien beings filled the floating platforms that served as seats. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others breathed methane through tubes connected to their chairs. A few looked almost human, except for their purple skin or extra eyes. Commander Juan stepped onto the speaking platform at the center of the hall. His gray skin was covered in scales, and his 4 powerful arms moved as he talked. Behind him, a giant hologram showed a small blue planet spinning slowly in space. Earth looked peaceful and quiet from far away. Fellow members of the Galactic Federation, Juan began, his voice echoing through translators that turned his words into hundreds of different languages. We face a new threat today. The crowd grew silent. Even the creatures that communicated through color changes on their skin stopped flashing their patterns. The species called humans have finally achieved faster-than-light travel, Juan continued. Our spy ships report that they are building more colonies on the planets near their sun. They are expanding faster than we predicted. Admiral Nari floated up from her section. Her body was made of living crystal that glowed with inner light. When she spoke, her voice sounded like wind chimes. The evidence is clear to everyone here. These humans fight wars with each other constantly. They have been doing this for thousands of years. They destroy their own forests and poison their own air and water to get resources. More voices joined in from around the hall. A creature that looked like a giant spider clicked its approval. A being made of pure energy pulsed brighter to show agreement. They are just like the Vexrans were 300 years ago, said General Kree, whose people had heads shaped like hammers. The Vexrans also started small. They also seemed harmless at first. But look what happened when we let them spread across 12 star systems. Everyone in the hall remembered the Vexran War. It had lasted 50 years and destroyed entire planets before the Federation finally stopped them. The humans show the same patterns, Juan said, waving all 4 arms. For emphasis, they are aggressive. They take everything they can get. They never stop expanding. If we wait too long, they will become too strong to stop. In the observers section, Captain Min sat perfectly still. He was one of only 3 humans in the entire galaxy who knew about the Galactic Federation. His job was to watch and report back to Earth about what the aliens were planning. He had hoped this day would never come, but he had prepared for it anyway. Min looked exactly like any other human, brown hair, brown eyes, medium height, but his earpiece was translating every word being spoken in the hall. His hidden camera was recording everything, and his heart was beating faster as he realized what was about to happen. What do you propose we do about this human problem? Asked Counselor Yex, whose people looked like walking trees with eyes. The same thing we always do when we find a dangerous species, Juan replied. We vote to classify them as a primitive resource world. A cold silence fell over the hall. Everyone knew what those words meant. A primitive resource world was a planet whose people could be enslaved legally. Their technology could be taken. Their world could be strip-mined for useful materials. It was the worst classification the Federation could give to any species. All those in favor of classifying Earth as a primitive resource world, show your agreement now, announced the Federation's computer voice. Lights began turning on all over the hall. Red lights meant yes. Blue lights meant no. Green lights meant abstain. Captain Min watched in growing horror as red light after red light appeared on the platforms. The spider-like creatures voted yes. The crystal beings voted yes. The energy creatures voted yes. Even the species that looked almost human voted yes. When the counting finished, the computer announced the results. Vote complete. 847 species voting yes. 0 species voting no. 0 abstentions. The motion passes unanimously. Cheers erupted throughout the hall. Creatures roared, clicked, buzzed, and flashed with joy. They had just sentenced humanity to slavery, and they were celebrating. Captain Min's face showed no emotion at all. He had trained for years to control his expressions in situations like this. Inside, though, his mind was racing. He needed to get this information back to Earth as quickly as possible. The invasion fleets will be assembled within 3 months, Juan announced over the noise. We will begin with Earth's orbital defenses, then move to the major population centers. The humans will surrender quickly once they realize how outmatched they are. What about their space colonies? Asked Admiral Nari. Those will be easy targets, Juan replied confidently. Humans are still primitive. Their weapons are crude. Their ships are slow. Our combined fleets will overwhelm them in a matter of days. More cheers filled the hall. The Federation had made their decision. They would enslave humanity before humans could become a real threat to galactic peace. Captain Min stood up quietly and walked toward the exit. Nobody paid attention to one small human leaving the observers section. They were all too busy planning the invasion. As Min reached his small ship in the station's docking bay, he allowed himself one small smile. The Federation thought they knew everything about humanity. They thought humans were primitive and weak. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The space around Earth looked like a metal storm. 3,000 alien warships hung in formation, their hulls gleaming under the light of the sun. Ships from 12 different worlds had come together for one purpose, to conquer humanity. Admiral Day stood on the bridge of his flagship, the largest ship in the Korthak war fleet. His people looked like giant insects with sharp teeth and claws. He had conquered 43 worlds in his lifetime, and Earth would be number 44. Send the surrender message again, Day ordered, his voice clicking through his mandibles. Commander June worked at his control panel. Sending now, Admiral. This is the 5th time we have demanded they give up. They waited. The view screen showed Earth spinning peacefully below them. White clouds moved slowly across blue oceans. It looked so small and helpless compared to their mighty fleet. Any response? Day asked. Nothing, sir, June replied. Their radio signals continue as normal. I am picking up music broadcasts, news about weather, and something called a cooking show. Day laughed, a sound like breaking glass. They do not even understand what is happening to them. Humans are even more primitive than we thought. Around them, the other alien fleets prepared for battle. The crystal ships of Admiral Neris' people began glowing brighter. The energy beings formed into attack formations that looked like deadly lightning. The metal ships of the machine races powered up their biggest weapons. Begin the attack, Day commanded. Destroy their orbital defenses first. Earth had several space stations orbiting the planet. They looked old and basic compared to alien technology. The stations had simple metal hulls and primitive weapon systems. When the alien ships fired on them, they exploded easily. Their defenses are pathetic, laughed General Kex from his ship nearby. This will be over in hours. But Captain Yoon on the second wave of attack ships noticed something strange. She studied her scanner readings carefully, her 6 eyes focusing on the data. Admiral Day, she called over the communication system. Something is not right here. What do you mean? Day asked. The energy readings from those space stations, Yoon said. Before we destroyed them, they were giving off power signatures that should be impossible for human technology. Explain. The power levels were much higher than our intelligence reports suggested. These stations were using technology that should be beyond human capabilities. Day waved one of his 4 arms dismissively. Your scanners must be broken. Humans barely learned how to travel faster than light. They cannot have advanced technology. The invasion continued. Thousands of landing craft began descending toward Earth's major cities. The plan was simple: land troops in New York, London, Tokyo, and other big cities. The humans would see the alien armies and surrender immediately. But Commander Su, monitoring everything from the intelligence ship, noticed more strange things. Her people were experts at reading enemy communications and battle plans. What she saw confused her. Admiral Sue called urgently. The human military response is too organized. What do you mean? They are using communication codes we cannot break. Our best code breakers have been working on human languages for months, but these military signals are completely different. And look at their troop movements. Sue showed him a tactical display. Human military units were moving into positions that made perfect sense. If they had known the alien attack was coming, they are positioning their forces exactly where they would need to be to fight us most effectively, Sue continued. It is like they knew our battle plans in advance. Impossible, Day said. We have been completely secret about this invasion. Admiral, another voice called out. This was Captain Yoon again, and she sounded worried. I am detecting new contacts. What? Kind of contacts? Unknown ships. They just appeared out of nowhere. On the main view screen, small dots began appearing around the alien fleet. At first there were just a few, then dozens, then hundreds. Where did they come from? They demanded. I do not know, sir. They were not there a moment ago. It is like they just materialized out of empty space. The dots on the screen began moving toward the alien ships. As they got closer, their shape became clear. These were human spacecraft. But they looked nothing like the primitive ships the aliens had expected. These human ships were sleek and beautiful. Their hulls seemed to bend light around them. They moved with a grace that no alien ship could match. And they were fast, faster than anything in the alien fleet. How is this possible? Whispered Admiral Nari over the communication channel. Our intelligence said humans had crude, slow ships. Open fire on them, Day ordered. The alien ships began shooting their weapons at the human craft. Beams of energy and metal projectiles filled space, but something impossible was happening. The attacks were passing right through the human ships as if they were not really there. They are using some kind of advanced shielding technology, Captain Yoon reported, her voice shaking. Our weapons cannot touch them. Then the human ships opened fire. Beams of pure energy, more powerful than anything the aliens had ever seen, reached out from the human vessels. Where they touched alien ships, the hulls simply disappeared, not exploded, disappeared as if they had never existed. In 30 seconds, the aliens lost over 200 ships. Retreat. Day screamed. All ships retreat. But it was too late. The humans had surrounded them completely. The primitive species they had come to enslave had just revealed technology that made the entire Galactic Federation look like children playing with toys. The hunters had become the hunted. Suddenly, every screen on every alien ship lit up at the same time. The aliens had not turned on these screens. Someone else was controlling their technology. Captain Min's face appeared on all the displays. He looked calm and confident, very different from the quiet observer who had sat in the Federation assembly 3 months ago. Behind him stood other humans in military uniforms. Greetings, members of the Galactic Federation, Min said in a steady voice. We are sorry it has come to this, but your actions have forced us to defend ourselves. Admiral Day jumped up from his command chair, his insect-like face twisted with anger. This is impossible. How are humans getting into our communication systems? Our technology is protected. Min smiled, and it was not a friendly smile. We have been watching your people for over 100 years. Did you really think that humans who could travel faster than light would not notice your spy stations hiding in our solar system? Commander Ari at the scanning station began typing frantically on her controls. Her 6 arms moved quickly as she tried to understand what was happening. Admiral, I am detecting something incredible. There are massive energy readings appearing all over the solar system. What kind of energy readings? They demanded. Ships, sir, huge ships. They are becoming visible. Hundreds of them. On the main view screen, the empty space around Earth began to change. Ships started appearing out of nowhere, as if they had been invisible before. These were not the small human fighters that had attacked earlier. These were enormous vessels, some of them larger than entire alien fleets. The human ships looked like nothing the aliens had ever seen. Their hulls were smooth and dark, seeming to absorb light rather than reflect it. Strange. Patterns of energy moved across their surfaces like living things. They moved through space with perfect grace, as if the laws of physics did not apply to them. "Where did they come from?" whispered Admiral Nari over the communication channel. Her crystal body was flickering with fear. Min continued his broadcast, his voice reaching every alien in the fleet. "We have been inside your computer networks since before most of your current governments came to power. We know everything about you, your military secrets, your technology, your plans." General Kex, whose hammer-shaped head was now drooping, with shock tried to contact his homeworld. "This cannot be real. Humans are primitive. Our intelligence reports said they barely understand space travel." "Your intelligence reports were wrong," said a new voice on the broadcast. A human woman stepped forward next to Min. She wore the uniform of a high-ranking military officer. "I am General Su of the Terran Defense Force. For the past century, we have been studying every piece of technology your civilizations have developed." The woman's voice was cold and professional. "While you believed we were primitive, we were learning. We took your technology and made it better. We studied your military tactics and found their weaknesses. We learned your languages, your cultures, your fears." Captain Yoon on her attack ship was staring at her scanner readings in disbelief. "Admiral Day, these human ships, their technology is impossible. The power levels I am reading are beyond anything we have in the entire Federation. Every species in your fleet has been observed and analyzed," General Su continued. "We know that Korthok warriors panic when separated from their command structure. We know that crystalline collectives cannot function when their harmonic frequencies are disrupted. We know that energy beings lose cohesion when exposed to certain electromagnetic fields." As she spoke, the human ships began to move into attack positions. They did not move like normal spacecraft. They flowed through space like liquid metal, changing direction instantly without slowing down. "You came here to enslave us, General," Su said. "But you have walked into a trap that took us 100 years to prepare." The human ships opened fire. The weapons they used were unlike anything the aliens had ever encountered. Beams of pure energy reached out from the human vessels. But these were not simple laser weapons. The energy seemed to bend space itself, passing through alien shields as if they were not there. Where the human weapons struck, alien ships simply stopped working. Their engines went dead, their weapon systems shut down, their life support began to fail. The ships were not destroyed, they were disabled with surgical precision. "Impossible," Admiral Day muttered, watching his mighty fleet become helpless in minutes. "Our shields should protect us. Our armor should absorb this damage." Commander Su at the intelligence station was reading data that made no sense. "Admiral, the human weapons are not just destroying our ships. They are somehow interfering with our technology, at the most basic level. It is like they know exactly how our systems work." All around the solar system, the same thing was happening. The crystal ships of Admiral Nari's fleet found their harmonic frequencies being jammed. The energy beings discovered that their forms were being destabilized by fields they could not see. The machine races watched their circuits fail as human viruses invaded their computer systems. In less than 10 minutes, half of the invasion fleet was floating helplessly in space. "This is impossible," Admiral Day whispered, staring at the tactical display that showed his 3,000 ships being systematically neutralized by a few hundred human vessels. On the broadcast, Captain Min spoke again. "You thought we were primitive because we let you think that. You thought we were weak because we wanted you to believe it. You made the mistake of underestimating humanity. The greatest military force in galactic history had just been defeated by the species they had come to enslave. The battle around Earth ended faster than anyone had expected. 6 hours after it began, the mighty Federation fleet was floating helplessly in space. Most of the alien ships were still intact, but none of them could move or fight anymore. Then something even more impossible happened. Human soldiers began appearing inside the alien ships. Admiral Day was standing on his bridge, trying to figure out how to restart his engines, when a human soldier simply walked through the metal wall. The alien crew raised their weapons, but their energy blasts passed right through the human as if he was made of air. "How is this possible?" Day shouted, backing away from the ghostly figure. More human soldiers appeared, materializing out of thin air. They wore strange armor that seemed to bend light around them. When alien weapons fired at them, the shots either passed through completely or bounced off harmlessly. "You are now prisoners of the Terran Defense Force," one of the humans said calmly. "Please do not resist. We do not wish to harm you." The same scene was playing out on hundreds of ships throughout the fleet. Human soldiers who could walk through walls, become invisible, and ignore energy weapons were taking control of every alien vessel. But the invasion of Earth was just the beginning. Deep under the city of Geneva on Earth, Admiral Lee stood in a huge underground room filled with holographic displays. The room was the secret command center for humanity's military forces. Lee was a tall woman with gray hair and calm eyes. She had been planning this day for 30 years. "Give me a status report, Colonel Jin," she said, looking at the displays that showed star maps from across the galaxy. Colonel Jin was a young man with quick fingers that moved across his control panels like a pianist. "All primary targets have been secured, Admiral. The operation is proceeding exactly as planned." Lee nodded as she watched the reports come in. Green lights appeared on star systems throughout the galaxy, showing successful human attacks. "Tell me about the major targets." "Vortanian military headquarters is under our complete control," Jin reported. "The crystalline collective's main shipyards have been captured with no damage to the facilities. Korthok Prime's orbital defense platforms have been neutralized." What made this even more incredible was how the humans were fighting. They were not destroying everything like most conquerors would do. Instead, they were using precise attacks that disabled military targets, while leaving everything else untouched. Captain Yoon was leading the human attack on Thesic Station, one of the Federation's most important military bases. Her ship appeared out of nowhere next to the massive station, which was 10 times larger than her vessel. "Thesic Control, this is Captain Yoon of the Terran Defense Force," she broadcast. "We have disabled your weapons and shields. Surrender now, and no one will be hurt." The station's commander was a being that looked like a walking tree with eyes. He had never seen technology like what the humans were using. "How did you get past our defenses?" "Our sensors show nothing. Your sensors cannot detect our ships because we do not want them to," Yoon replied. "We have been studying your technology for decades. We know exactly how to avoid your detection systems." Within an hour, Thesic Station was under human control. Not a single alien had been killed. The humans had simply walked through the station's walls, disabled all the weapons, and politely asked everyone to surrender. "No casualties among the civilian population, sir," Captain Yoon reported back to Admiral Lee. "We have secured their quantum communication array and defense grid. They are asking for terms of surrender." What terrified the Federation leaders was not just humanity's advanced weapons. It was how well the humans understood every alien species. The humans seemed to know more about each alien culture than the aliens knew about themselves. Commander Wan had been the one who proposed enslaving humanity at the Federation Assembly. Now he was trapped in his own command center on the Vortanian homeworld, watching human soldiers appear around him like ghosts. The leader of the human soldiers was a young woman who looked barely old enough to be a soldier, but when she spoke, it was in perfect Vortanian language, using the formal tones that showed she understood their culture completely. "Commander Juan," she said politely, "I am Captain Day. You are now under the protection of the Terran Defense Force." "Protection?" Juan's forearms gestured wildly. "You are invading our world." "No," Captain Day replied calmly. "We are preventing a war. Your empire's greatest weakness has always been your rigid hierarchy. When the leaders cannot give orders, your entire military system stops working." As she spoke, reports were coming in from across Vortanian space. Human forces had captured or disabled every major military command center simultaneously, without orders from their superiors. Vortanian soldiers everywhere were laying down their weapons. "Your forces are surrendering across 7 star systems," Captain Day continued, "because they have no one to tell them what to do. We studied your culture for 50 years. We know exactly how your command structure works." The same thing was happening throughout the galaxy. The humans had not just studied alien technology, they had studied alien psychology, alien culture, alien military doctrine. They knew each species' strengths and weaknesses better than the aliens themselves. Within 3 weeks, the entire Galactic Federation military was under human control, not through massive destruction, but through careful planning, precise strikes, and an understanding of their enemies that had taken decades to develop. The galaxy had never seen warfare like this before. The great crystal hall that had once buzzed with the voices of 847 different species was now almost silent. Only a few dozen alien representatives sat in the floating seats that stretched across the enormous chamber. The rest had either run away to their home planets or were being held as prisoners by human forces. Admiral Nari moved slowly across the hall toward the human delegation. Her body, which was made of living crystal, had lost most of its bright glow. She looked tired and defeated. Each step seemed to take great effort, as if she was carrying a heavy weight. The humans sat at a simple table in the center of the hall. There were only 5 of them, but their presence filled the entire space. Every alien in the room was watching them with a mixture of fear and curiosity. We seek terms," Admiral Nari said when she reached the human table. Her voice, which usually sounded like beautiful wind chimes, was now barely louder than a whisper. Captain Min looked up at her. He was the same human who had sat quietly in the observers section months ago, watching as the Federation voted to enslave his species. Now everyone knew he had been the leader of humanity's secret preparation for this war. "We are listening," Min said simply. Commander Juan stepped forward from where he had been waiting. His forearms were bound with energy restraints, but the humans had not hurt him. His insect-like face showed confusion and fear. "What do you want from us?" Juan asked. "Our worlds, our technology, our lives. We know how conquerors usually behave." General Su, the human military leader who had spoken during the broadcast, stood up from the table. She looked at Juan with steady eyes. "None of those things," she replied. "We want the one thing you have never given to any species you have encountered: respect." The aliens in the hall began whispering among themselves. This was not what they had expected to hear. Throughout galactic history, when one species defeated another, they always demanded territory, resources, or slaves. The idea of asking only for respect was completely foreign to them. "I do not understand," said Counselor Yex, whose tree-like form was shaking with nervousness. "You have defeated our entire military. You could take anything you want. Why do you ask only for respect?" Admiral Li, the overall commander of human forces, stepped forward to address the assembly. She was an older woman with gray hair and kind eyes, but everyone in the hall knew she had just orchestrated the most successful military campaign in galactic history. "You expected us to be conquerors like yourselves," Li said, her voice carrying clearly through the huge chamber. "But that is not who we are. Yes, we fight when we are threatened. Yes, we prepare for war to ensure peace. But we do not seek to dominate others. She gestured toward the nearly empty hall. Look around you. For thousands of years, your Federation has worked by fear and force. Strong species enslave weak ones. Powerful civilizations take what they want from those who cannot resist. This is the only way you know how to exist. Min opened a holographic display that showed the terms humanity was offering. As the aliens read the terms, their expressions changed from fear to shock to disbelief. There would be no enslavement of Federation species. No human colonies would be established on alien worlds. No reparations would be demanded for the cost of the war. Instead, humanity proposed something the Federation had never seen before, a truly equal partnership between species. This is impossible, whispered General Kex, his hammer-shaped head drooping. The strong always rule the weak. This is the natural order of the universe. No, replied Captain Min. That is just the only order you have ever known. The new system humanity proposed was simple but revolutionary. All species would be equal partners in a new galactic council. No single species could make decisions for others. No species could be enslaved or forced to give up their territory. Every world would govern itself while cooperating with others for mutual benefit. You are offering us freedom, Admiral Nari said, her crystal body beginning to glow a little brighter as she understood. Even though we voted to enslave you, you are offering us freedom. That is correct, General Su replied. We believe that all intelligent beings deserve to be free. This includes our former enemies. The negotiations took several weeks. Some alien species found it hard to believe that humans really meant what they said. They kept waiting for the real demands, the hidden costs of surrender. But the humans never asked for anything, except an agreement to treat all species with respect. 6 months later, the new Galactic Charter was signed. Every species that had voted to enslave humanity now pledged to protect the rights of all intelligent beings. The old Federation, with its hierarchy of strong over weak, was dissolved forever. Commander Wan, now freed and serving as the Vortanian representative to the new council, often thought about the strange turn of events. His people had tried to prevent humanity from becoming a threat to the galaxy. Instead, they had forced humans to become exactly what the galaxy needed, not conquerors, but liberators. The humans had taught every species in the galaxy a lesson that would never be forgotten. True strength did not come from the ability to enslave others. True strength came from the wisdom to free them. For the first time in galactic history, all species were truly equal partners in the universe.